I'm Tiege.
And I'm Sam.
And we are your well-informed girlfriends.
Because the news doesn't have to be boring.
Yeah, that's so true.
So this week we're talking about how some states are legalizing magic mushrooms for mental health treatment and the rise of Bro-tox.
Okay, love that. Also, we're talking about it is officially 2016 again.
Okay,
everyone's thriving. It's 2016 and we're living for it. Also, we're talking about this new study that Stanford did and led to this new term called empathy perception gap, which is really interesting. I'm excited to talk about it. We're also talking about rejection therapy and how it might be the newest, hottest form of therapy.
Plus, we love a dating trend. We're also talking about something called future faking and how to avoid it. So all that and more on today's episode of Well-Informed Girlfriends.
Incredible. Okay, so first things first, I'm sure you've seen it. It is officially 2016 again on our timelines on social media.
Yes. Was 2016 the last good year online?
It was.
Evidently, a TikTok trend is called 2026 is the new 2016. And it has people reviving our oversaturated Instagram filters, the memes, even the fashion of 2016.
Yeah.
All of it has been driven by this Gen Z movement called, and I quote, the Great Meme Reset.
Yeah.
They're trying to drown out the AI slop, engagement bait, and doom scrolling. And it's going back to a simpler era of the internet.
I have to say, everybody peaked in 2016. Everybody posting their 2016s. I'm like, oh my God. Also, I looked at my 2016s. I'm like, I was happy, hot, tan. Everything was working for me, in 2016. And life just felt simple.
I think it was. And I'm not saying 2016 was perfect or anything like that. But I think it was just a simpler time. You could post an over-filtered photo of a coffee you're drinking and no one would be like, ew.
No, it was avocado toast was your daily story.
Right.
And it was just nice. It almost felt like the internet was pre-judgy. No one was really judging. It was kind of more for vibes. I feel like when people posted in 2016, it was just post whatever. And then as a result, it became more authentic content because it was people didn't think so much. Now I feel like when people post, it's so incredibly curated, which, for better or for worse, but probably more for worse. And so I have been loving this 2016 trend.
Me too. And to that end about authenticity, some of the discourse online has actually been about how it felt like the last time we were carefree and had hope. Take a listen.
Because we are so back. Millennial cringe is now officially cool again. Today I want to talk about millennial cringe and sincerity nostalgia. The algorithm has been serving a strange genre of content to me recently, nostalgic millennial hopecore edits. This is pretty weird. Only a year ago, this aesthetic and sensibility was widely derided. Now it is being recontextualized nostalgically as aspirational. Now, I've previously said that the purpose of nostalgia these days is not just to relive the past, it's a hope to rediscover an idea that current society seems to have lost.
So,
oh my God. First of all, I have to say that is the funniest thing I've ever seen. Breaking down millennial hope.
Millennial core. It's everyone was making fun of us for our skinny jeans and our striped shirts and our business attire at the club. And now guess what? Everybody aspires to it. So
it's back. And you know what I like about millennials? We just keep pushing forward.
We do. We're just
really
what? I do what I want.
You can't stop us. There's some sort of there's something nice about that.
There is. And I think it's because we were raised by boomers. That's also their vibe. But I love it. And I have to say, I feel for Gen Z. They a lot of them came of age during the pandemic. They didn't have that kind of culture that we had.
Right.
And they have an aesthetic, but it's this ultra curated kind of minimalist, yada, yada. I get yearning for a simpler time because I yearn for it too.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I think this is awesome. And I think that it's cool that we're cool again.
I know. Honestly, that's all I ever wanted.
Nice. Yeah. That's too funny. Okay, this next story is so interesting. Men are actually starting to embrace aesthetic treatments.
Yes, they're calling them Bro-tox or daddy do-overs.
Hilarious.
And a Vogue business report finds that the male demand is rising for all of these kinds of treatments, from Botox to laser skincare or jawline contouring.
Okay.
Even something I learned about called abdominal etching.
What?
I know. I think it makes your abs look better. Anyways, the article says the stigma of these tweakments has been fading, obviously, and preventative skincare is more the norm for both men and women.
Yeah.
And they interviewed a bunch of surgeons in this piece that said executives and professionals are looking for these subtle enhancements to project confidence in an image-driven, Zoom-heavy workplace.
Wow, that is so interesting. You know, I do feel like there has been this trend of men are starting to like take better care of themselves. They're doing like skincare routines.
For sure.
A lot of men are starting to go to Turkey and get hair transplants. All power to you, you know? I think it's great. I think it's great that, you know, if anybody wants to do something to make them feel a little bit better, it's great. It's really interesting. And I do feel like this is starting to happen. But also, like, I need them to tone down their judgment, because I feel like I've dated so many guys that are like, you don't need to get Botox. I'm like, if you're getting Bro-tox, then I can get Botox. You know, now we're all in the same boat, and we can just go to appointments together.
Yeah. Okay, great. You can bond together. I'm so glad that they're able to get this gender affirming care.
Yeah.
No, but I love it for them if that's what they want to do.
Yeah.
I don't love that we pressure people to be perfect.
Right.
And so I know that that's a tight line to walk, a tightrope to walk. But, you know, if that's what people want to do, more power to them.
Totally. Also, I feel like women have been getting Botox and aesthetic treatments for so long. It's a little bit more, they can hide it more. Like, not hide it, but it's like definitely less recognizable. But I actually have noticed, like, I have some... It's more obvious. I don't know if it's like the makeup or what. For some reason, when men get things, I don't know if like it just feels so drastic and so different. When a guy's forehead isn't moving at all, you're like, that's a weird thing in my brain, you know?
Oh, like so we haven't become desensitized to like Botox
men
face.
Having, you know, having no movement in their face.
I will totally agree with you. But I will say, even like a neighbor of mine is like 30 years old, and he was telling me he got Sculptra this week for acne scarring. And he was able to use his HSA for it. And he was like, well, why wouldn't I? Like, I would love to get rid of these acne scars. And he's young. He's like 30, but you know, I totally respect that. And he was totally open about it. He kept joking he had a black eye. Like, you should see the other guy. But it was just the Sculptra.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
I was like, you can have a good sense of humor about it too. No. I think that that's like really healthy.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, this next study, I want to hear.
Okay, so this next story is about freezing eggs. So a major new UCLA study just revealed that while far more women than ever are freezing their eggs, only about 6% ever return to use them, which I thought was really low.
Yeah.
So between 2014 and 2021, the number of planned egg freezing cycles in the US nearly quadrupled. That means that far more women today are proactively trying to pause fertility or put it on their own timing. But almost nobody is using those frozen eggs. So in a follow-up of women who froze their eggs between 2014 and 2016, only about 6% came back to use their eggs within 5 to 7 years. That's fewer than 1 in 17 women.
Wow, that's so crazy.
I know. And also, you think about egg freezing, it's like so expensive.
Oh, yeah. But your insurance will often cover it now.
Exactly. Yeah. Especially if you're in California. Okay. So this is interesting. There's also age trends that have changed a lot with the egg freezing market. So women are freezing their eggs younger than ever before as well. So the average age when a woman freezes her eggs has dropped from 36 to now 34. Which I thought was interesting. And a lot of people will say, or experts or doctors will say, like, if you want to freeze your eggs, you should do it younger because you have supposedly better egg quality.
Yeah.
Who knows if that's true. And the slightly higher return rates, still very low, were among women who had frozen their eggs later. So if women had frozen their eggs from like 38 to 42, those are the women who used their eggs.
Oh, that makes more sense, I suppose.
Right, exactly. Which I guess makes sense because, yeah, you're probably more fertile if you're younger. Anyways.
Right. It would be much easier to get pregnant naturally.
Exactly. So the study revealed that there are actually a few reasons this could be the case and why these numbers are so low. First of all, many women try to conceive naturally first. So, you know, maybe you've frozen your egg as some sort of insurance policy and then you actually end up getting pregnant naturally. So no one ends up actually using those eggs. The other reason they cited was cost, timeline realities, obviously financial cost, emotional fatigue, life timing all playing a role in this. And it may be a form of psychological peace of mind. So some research suggests that the act of freezing your eggs gives women a sense of control or reduced anxiety, even if they don't end up using them, which I actually 100% agree with. Candidly, I did freeze my eggs this last year. A lot of people were like, you're insane. You shouldn't have done it already. But I just wanted to get it over with. And I have to say, when I was done, I felt this like wave of relief. Like, okay, like now I don't have to stress out about finding a partner, about trying to settle down immediately and like trying just because I wanted to check the boxes because I wanted to have kids. Now I know in my brain that like I don't have to rush to do those things because I do have this insurance policy with my kids on ice. So it is nice to do. And I totally agree. What do you think? What do you think about this?
I think that that's great that science can do that for people. I did not freeze my eggs. I'm 34 this year. I do feel a little bit of that pressure.
Yeah.
So I get why you would do that. I think for me, the process, I haven't had any friends say it was a pleasant process.
Nope. Really bad.
Of freezing your eggs.
Yeah.
So that I think gave me pause and a little bit sort of like, well, not a way out of it because I don't necessarily not want kids. I do, I think. Maybe, probably, question mark.
Maybe.
But it's like, I think it would have made me feel better if I had done it. But it's like, I don't know. I haven't, or maybe I'll do it this year. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, also like, and we've talked about this for, personally, but like you have family members who have gotten pregnant older and whatever. And so
even in the 90s, they were getting pregnant older. So
right, exactly.
I'm kind of like hopeful I'll have those genes, knock on wood.
Yeah. And genetics like have a lot to do with all that stuff too. So interesting. Yeah, no, I think it's great. I just thought it was so interesting that the number is so incredibly low. So many people aren't actually using their frozen eggs.
Yeah. So what happens to the eggs?
If you don't use them, I think there's like another way that they're stored and either used for research or things like that.
That's cool.
But don't quote me on that. Don't know.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Next story. I'm so interested to hear this next one.
Yes. So this next story is about the empathy perception gap. Have you heard of this?
No.
Okay. So thanks to a new Stanford University study, we now have a clue as to why it seems it's so hard for people to make friends nowadays. So contrary to popular belief, it's not just because we're in front of our phones all day, although that, of course, has a lot to do with it.
I was going to say, that's surely a contributing factor.
That does contribute. But Stanford ran this study amongst college students, and they found that these students are actually really underestimating how empathetic, kind, and friendly one another are. So they're seeing each other in these social settings, and they're just automatically assuming that the other person doesn't want to talk to them. So they're automatically assuming that the person doesn't want to be friends, they shouldn't bother them, they don't want to strike up a conversation, which I thought was so interesting because in reality, we know a lot of people just want connection, they just want friendship, they just want to feel like they're a part of something. But this has led Stanford to coin the term the empathy perception gap, meaning that people are assuming others don't want to engage with them, so they don't interact. And then over time, that leads to less friendship and connection. So the problem isn't that people don't want friends. People still want friends. The problem is that they think that everyone doesn't want connection.
Did they say what caused that? Like, why is this happening so much to younger people?
They talked about how social media shows a lot of like negative bullying and people like not wanting to connect or the negative aspects of social media. And also, social media makes you feel very siloed, and it makes it feel like people already have their friend groups. People already are doing what they're doing. They're kind of busy living their life. And so when people see people in real life, they're like, oh, I'm sure that they've got,
they've got their friends.
Right.
Oh, I see.
So they talk a lot about how social media has contributed to this and making people feel like there's no reason to engage with someone. But that's totally wrong, right? Like we know people are actually very kind. And this is something I've always thought in general, but like people are inherently good, right? Like I have always believed that. I think like everybody at the end of the day probably wants the same thing, like for their family and friends to be happy and for them to feel fulfilled and like, just survive, right? Like I feel like that is so true. And I feel like a lot of times, like if we could just all remember that, it would be very helpful,
Yes.
When you get so stressed out in these social settings or whatever, it's like just everybody wants the same thing. We all just like want to be happy relatively. So I thought this was really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, have you noticed that as time goes on, you have that feeling more often that people don't want to be friends still? Or even, because we came of age in a time without social media, well, with social media, but to a significantly lesser degree, as we've discussed earlier.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you've changed what your perception is of others when you meet them in public?
I do have, and it's weird to say this because I don't feel like I have a lot of social anxiety, but when it comes to like new people, I actually always kind of do this. Like I assume people don't want to talk. And I don't know if it's because we live in LA and people feel very busy and important all the time. You know, it's like, I don't want to like go up to you at a coffee shop because like you look like you're busy, you know? But I think that it's still probably, that's wrong. Like, I think that I'm probably just guilty of thinking this way. You don't think like that. You're friends with everyone.
I am potentially too friendly. I'm like the person you're like, would you please stop talking to me actually? But it's fine because I have a million friends now. So it's great. Honestly, I end up befriending people everywhere I go. Yeah. Sometimes I hear stories. I have like a face that's like, tell me your tale. And that's usually fun and great in journalism. Occasionally chaotic in public spaces. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think it's because I came of age in a time before this sort of line of thinking. Yeah. Or I mean, you know, you were always worried what others thought of you, obviously. But it wasn't, I think, to the same degree. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. But I totally understand why people would feel that way, especially because you're socially curating your look online all the time. You're like, here I am with my friends. Here I am at my aesthetic coffee shop, whatever. Yeah. Because all of that is so curated, it would be hard for others to feel like you're amenable to changing up your routine and your stuff.
Exactly. Yeah, no, totally. I 100% agree. But I guess now it's just like maybe people need to make more of an effort to be like, let's just connect more, huh?
Yeah, for sure. I will also say we live in LA, which is like the place where people are like, oh my God, let's hang, and then never hang. That is my, I don't want to say number one pet peeve because I know people are busy, but it is also like, don't say let's hang if you don't actually want to hang, please. Thank you.
Yeah, this is my plea. Pretty guilty of that, but also like I will follow up and people like just don't do it. And so I don't take it personal at all anymore. I'm like, it's fine. I guess just like what we do here. But
it is what we do here, but I hate it.
Yeah. Well, you do your own thing then.
I do. I don't say let's hang unless I actually mean it. So
yeah, that's good.
Anyways, okay, next story.
Yeah, what is it?
Okay, luxury's newest status symbol is logging off instead of fancy logos. So this is according to Vogue Business. They say unplugging has become the ultimate luxury. This is as people are burning out on AI, slop, constant monetization of everything, and just like using screens in general. Yeah. And people are switching back to things like flip phones. They're throwing no phone parties and even reading analog books.
Hell yeah.
On paper?
Yeah.
The article noted that surveys show most Americans, especially Gen Z, crave more real-world connection, and fashion is shifting back to tactile offline experiences. So people will go to these like whole brand parties with no phones, which I think is actually great. Totally huge fan. Honestly, if I could have everyone come to my home and then like put their phone in a locked box when they come over to hang, I would do it. Mainly for my own husband. Shout out to Zumant. But also for everyone, because it's like sometimes we're just sitting around on our phones together and that's not fun either.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. And like we talk about this all the time, but like using your phone in public spaces or even with your friends, it's first of all, it's called phubbing. It's called snubbing someone for your phone.
Right.
So it's kind of like ignoring the fact that they're there with you. But also, it's just like it's a ripple effect. So if I get on my phone, you get on your phone, then we're all on our phone, and what are we doing together? We should just Skype. Like, what are we doing?
Skype. Another 2016 deep cut.
And that's what I'm trying to do. It's 2016 again, okay? Please give me this.
Let me have this, okay? No, I'm totally with you. And I love that Gen Z and millennials are being more conscientious about this as time goes on too.
Yeah.
I think more and more of us are aware of the impact these have had on our brains. Like you've done a whole book on this, so I don't need to tell you, but I'm just reiterating because I really think that if we start to modify our behavior, we can change how we interact with people. And I think that that's like crucial to remembering that people are inherently good instead of just sitting online and reading crazy takes or whatever it is.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I 100% agree. Okay, our next story is about magic mushrooms. So magic mushrooms might just be the next big mental health treatment. Interesting. But there's a catch. What? So the FDA just fast-tracked its review of the psilocybin therapy for severe depression, and it could be approved later this year.
Oh, wow. That's crazy.
I know. So according to the New York Times, that's a very big moment for psilocybin medicine, especially after regulators rejected MDMA therapy in 2024.
Oh, right, of course. And so it's interesting that mushroom therapy is actually only legal in Oregon, Colorado, and New Mexico right now.
Not here?
I know.
In California?
I think it's decriminalized, but it's not legalized.
Oh, interesting.
But sessions can cost up to $3,000. Insurance doesn't cover it, and a third of the clinics have already shut down.
Oh,
so
why?
Because they're taxing them a lot, and it's like hard to keep them open. And if it's still nationally illegal. It's like, you know, like anything. It's when you're a cash business, it's harder to keep them running.
Yeah. Well, this is not surprising at all because we watched the weed rollout, you know?
Right. Exactly. So this rollout will be bumpy too, I think, is the takeaway. But I'm so interested. And it seems like they've decriminalized it in California because I've seen like stores selling weed. I've seen stores selling magic mushrooms now in town.
No, I have too. That's why I was like shocked when you said it wasn't technically legal here. I'm like, huh? I've seen that at the store.
I know, right? They just have it behind the counter and you're like, okay.
Yeah, that's interesting. Huh. Yeah. Well, I hope that gets pushed through. Anything that's like a different solution to like I'm a fan of anything that's like a mental health solution.
Yeah, for sure. And especially if you have like treatment resistant depression, I think that could be really a good thing for them. So we'll see.
Yeah, we'll find out. Definitely. I love that. Okay, so our next story is about the rise of the friendship interview.
What?
Okay, listen here. So more people, especially women in their later 20s to 40s, are vetting their friends the way that they used to vet partners. And hear me out. Okay, so new social research shows that casual friendships are shrinking, unfortunately, and adults under 30 are less likely to have a lot of close connections. We know this. We've talked about it. We just talked about it 5 seconds ago. Yeah. At the same time, people want deeper, more meaningful friendships, and that means that we're all secretly doing this thing people are calling friendship interviews. I know, it sounds crazy. Look, I've never done this, but allegedly this is happening.
Okay. So what are they asking?
Okay, allegedly people are starting to vet their friendships the way that they used to vet dates. So not formally, but like emotionally.
Okay.
So some people, and this sounds crazy, some people are starting to ask new potential friends deep questions before they start hanging out as friends. And a few of the examples listed online were, could you imagine asking a stranger this, first of all, one, what are you actually like in conflict? What? Could you imagine asking that to a new potential friend?
Honestly, I am a little conflict avoidant, so I would be like, what is this question?
Yeah. Okay. They also are saying people are asking, are you someone who flakes?
Okay, I will say that's a fair question, but you would know that if you hang out with someone literally like once.
And they flake. If they don't show up, you would know that they're flake.
Exactly. You don't have to ask that question.
And then they are also saying people are asking, like, are you draining or grounding? Like, what's your personality? All this stuff. I think this is kind of a little crazy. I think it's also a little bit like, we don't need to be doing this. Please, life's hard enough. I don't need to be interviewed on a date and for a friendship. I just don't need another test.
You know what? Okay, my husband has this theory on this like line of thinking. He thinks that young people, and that includes us, love to psychoanalyze everything now. We psychoanalyze film. We psychoanalyze each other. And evidently now we're like therapizing our friends before choosing to be their friends.
Okay.
And I think it's just because people love that sort of therapy speak. You know what I mean? Like we're always talking in therapy speak. Like everything is, we've all been to therapy, which is great. Yeah. But also, we've therapized everything.
No, I agree. I actually really heavy agree on this. And I have had some friends who I love dearly, but are very therapy speak. And they'll be like, you're not respecting my boundaries and stuff like that. And I appreciate the candor, but I'm also like, yeah, I'm your friend. Like you can be like, hey, like you didn't text me back. That's weird. Not like make it this big like rigmarole.
Just be like, hey, that's not cool. And then they're like, well, blah, blah, those are my boundaries. And you're like, okay, well, I also have boundaries and that's called respecting me. So it's like you can almost weaponize therapy speak, which I think is
that happens all the time.
Yeah. Like I think that's why they say don't go to couples therapy with a master manipulator because they will just weaponize that. But like this is sort of similar. Like people who have been to therapy and like almost are weaponizing it now in friendships. But I mean, like, listen, I think that you should only be friends with people who you get along with and who does show up for you and whatever. But I think 100%. Asking questions like this is like kind of, I don't know, that's a little chaotic.
No, I agree. I 100% agree. Okay, that is interesting. Well, speaking of therapy.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, there's a new form of therapy and it might be my favorite kind of therapy. It is called, drum roll, rejection therapy. So there's this trending movement on social media where people are actually asking to be rejected, and it's catching on. It sounds insane.
Yeah, this is my worst nightmare, actually.
No, this is like how I go through the world. But there's actually psychology behind this. So rejection therapy began as a self-help game where basically the goal is to seek out social rejection on purpose, like asking strangers for things, and then you would expect to hear a no. So the idea is that the more you experience rejection, the less fearful and anxious you become when it actually happens. So on TikTok and other platforms, people are actually documenting these rejection attempts, from harmless stunts to like awkward public asks. And a recent report in the Financial Times noted that rejection therapy has become so popular that some professionals are actually using it in workplace confidence building and risk-taking training.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
What?
So it's not a recognized clinical therapy, but it does borrow from evidence-based principles of exposure therapy by intentionally confronting these feared situations over time. The goal isn't to just collect no's, but it's learning that rejection isn't as personal or threatening as your brain assumes. So like you might be like just not ready to hear the no, and then when it happens, you're like, oh, that wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. So people are literally asking strangers to say no to them because hearing no lessens its power, essentially. Oh. And that says a lot about how much we fear rejection, and it like shapes our social lives today. So I love it. This is like something that I actually feel like I said this a few years ago to my mom, and she was like, please don't do that. I was like, what if I just start emailing people like that, like these dream jobs I have? Like, why don't I just start emailing? And like the goal is to hear no, like, and I don't care. Like, because it takes away all the pressure of like what the outcome is, right?
Yeah, what if they say no?
Yeah, and my mom was like, please don't do that. But like I actually see the potential in how helpful this could be for people. What, would you do this?
Oh, no. I have rejection sensitivity dysphoria, and so I simply cannot do that.
That's hilarious. I don't mind anymore.
Wow, I'm so impressed. Well, maybe it's because you do this. Maybe I should do this, but this sounds horrible. Yeah. Frankly, this sounds like my own personal nightmare.
Yeah.
But like maybe that's because I experienced so many rejections for like my most recent job search that like I'm just traumatized. But I think I definitely could see this working.
Yeah.
But it sounds so hard, dude. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, also, like, I have to say, a lot of people online have been actually very surprised about what actually happens in the outcome. Like, some people are like, I assumed I was going to get rejected when I asked this guy out, and he actually said yes, and we went on a date. Like, I think you actually are surprised by what could happen if you just put yourself out there more. Like, you might think you're going to get rejected, and then you don't, and you're like, oh my God, wait, what? I should be doing that more often.
Oh, so this is like a rebrand of staying Delulu is the Salulu?
Exactly.
Okay, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
okay, what's this next one?
Okay, so there is actually one free, stupidly simple thing that you can do that will make you feel better almost all the time.
Okay.
It's dancing.
Oh.
I know. So moving your body to music actually helps you regulate stress and your mood and energy.
I agree.
I'm calling it this existential intermission. Like if you're in the middle of a spiral, just turn on some music and have yourself a little dance break. Evidently, this works really well for people with ADHD like myself, but the research shows that rhythmic movement can boost your dopamine and like these brain chemicals that are involved with attention and motivation. So sitting still actually will make things worse. So if you're ever having a moment, take a deep breath, turn on some music and like bop it out, I guess.
I do this all the time.
Yeah, me too, actually. And I've
yeah.
seen like a lot of people on the internet talking about this week, which is why I put it back in.
Yeah.
Because I was like, low key, I will just turn on Pink Pony Club. Sumant hates the song now, by the way. I listen to Pink Pony Club way too much. But it's like, I will just like jam with the dog and make the dog dance with me. It also hates that. And I feel 1,000% better every single day.
Good thing you do. Sumant and your dog are like, nope.
They'll deal with it. It's fine.
No, I do this all the time. Actually, like when I do stand up, I will often like before I go on stage, I get really nervous. So I'll like go put my AirPods in and kind of like bop around in the back, and it like loosens me up. It makes me feel so much better. And I'm like, oh, like that's fine, you know. And that's like the energy you should go into anything with. So sure. I feel like that also helps me like at corporate jobs. I'll go to the bathroom if I'm having like a really particularly stressful day. Put in, like I said again, an AirPod, bop around. Or if I can't wake up in the morning, I'll put on like a good bop, like a good Doja Cat is what I woke up to today. And I just was like, I can do it. I can do this day.
For sure. It like really is inspiring. And I forget sometimes that the answer can just be that simple.
No, literally. Okay, our last story is about a new dating trend called future faking. What is that?
Okay. So let me first start by asking.
Uh-oh.
Have you ever dated someone who promises everything but then delivers nothing?
Yes, of course, men.
I think we all have.
No offense. Please, don't come for me.
Right. Don't cancel us. But okay, so if you're dating someone who never actually follows through on anything, you might be getting what's now called future faked. And future faking is when a partner sells you this beautiful life of lies with a vision like, going to Paris, doing whatever, but with actually no intention of ever making it real. This is all according to The Every Girl, which is an online website. They say that like people who do this do it because they want to feel desired or more powerful or emotionally validated. And the red flags are things like big promises, vague timelines, love bombing, the usual.
Yeah, of course.
And it'll all make you feel, as the recipient of this, it'll make you feel like increasingly confused because their actions are not matching what they're saying. They're like, we're going to Paris. And then they don't even text you back. And you're like, what the hell?
No, 100%.
So anyways, the experts that they interviewed in this story say the fix is to slow things down, ask for concrete steps, and set boundaries.
Oh, we love a boundary.
We love a boundary.
Okay. And here's the thing. It's like, I think this happens all the time.
Yeah.
I feel like there have been several guys that I've dated that are like, oh yeah, and let's do this, and we'll go on this trip, or we'll do this, and when it doesn't happen, it's even more just like upsetting. It's like, don't even tell me that.
Yeah, why would you dangle it in front of me and then be like, just kidding?
Right. It just feels like kind of like what are we acting now? What are you in a Meisner technique class? Why are you faking the future when you could just like be real, right? Like,
it's crazy. I think they do it too because they want you to stay interested. It's sort of like breadcrumbing someone, but a next level, like full of lies. I'm not even sure they know they're lying though, honestly. Like,
maybe
that
like
would
hopeful.
Be great.
Maybe
they're just like
just being
aspirational.
Like, let's go to Paris, and they're Delulu.
Yeah.
They're actually doing what you're supposed to do.
Oh my God, right? They are. This is the rejection therapy, the reverse side of it. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
We're kidding. That is so interesting. Okay, well, this was such a fun week.
This was so fun. I'm so glad we had this chat, everyone. Yeah. Please follow us online. Tell your friends.
Yeah.
Send us around.
We'll see you guys next week, but we love you. We'll be thinking about you.
Bye.
Bye.